Hey, all you bargain builders and frugal crafters. This is John Timmons with Crafter Hacks once again, and we're going to start right in with that castle terrain, the scatter terrain, using our paint and our flocking and whatever other decorations you want to go ahead and put in your scatter terrain. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to show you what I decided to do with this particular piece, and we'll go from there. Now, there are some materials you're going to need before we get to the table, and I'm going to go over those right now for you. Okay, so first we're going to go over our paints. We have pewter gray, granite gray, black, and crisp green from the Apple Branch paint set. I'm also using some dollar store reindeer moss and Spanish moss, as well as some homemade flocking that I created using sawdust and acrylic paint. I also have a Sharpie pen that I'll be using to decorate my paints later on. Now, I got my black paint and my pewter gray. I'm going to go ahead and create a paint trough here. And just a little dab of the pewter gray and equal portion of the black, because I want to make a darker gray to work with, so that instead of a black base, I'm using a dark gray base for my piece. Now, it's very important that when you're putting this together, if you wanted to use spray paint, that's fine, but styrofoam will melt, so make sure you coat that in some glue or other clear substance so that it protects those styrofoam bricks. Or just make sure you paint in all the crevices. Of course, I'm not telling you anything you already know. You want to make sure you get every little bit, because that white will show through, especially on the dark gray. So, after these last finishing touches, here we go. Now, as you can see, I'm going to kind of zoom in here for us to kind of give us a little bit more idea of the detail that's going to go into this piece. And I kind of touched it while it was still wet, so of course I got some thumbprints there. I'll go ahead and make sure I fix those up here too. But now we're going to go ahead and grab our pewter gray directly, and I'm going to grab a piece of junk cardboard, just make a little line of the pewter gray, and I'm going to take a sponge and just kind of daub it, stipple it a little bit, and I'm going to use that stipling effect that DM Scotty actually introduced me to kind of highlight the main bricks and main pieces of our terrain. I want to get all the good details I can here, but not to where it's overpowering the dark gray. And this is not the only highlight we'll be using. We'll actually be using another layer of gray on top of that. So I'm going to use granite gray, and the sponges, sometimes you can get the ones that have a scrubber portion on top. I like this because this allows me to just put bits and pieces of paint on the effect without actually clouding it. And I want to do that as a first step, just kind of take that scrubber effect portion of my sponge and just dot here and there around the piece to kind of give it a little bit more detail and depth. Now I'm going to take the actual sponge portion and daub that on the remainder. And I definitely want to get this front piece, because that's going to be my sun-bleached stone there. And other rock areas, and kind of give it a little bit of a cloud. And this actually helps self-dry it too when you're stipling it in this way. But I'm going to just highlight some of the bricks, some of the tops here, and go over this piece to make sure that there's multiple layers of detail and depth in these stones. It really helps make them stand out. Now, once I get some of this tile work here on the top, you can see here, I've got a good piece there. Now, I'm going to take my glue. This is my favorite part, by the way, as soon as I get this open. And I'm just going to daub here on certain sections, because this is where we're actually going to take our flocking. Now, if you end up buying the professional flocking, that's your choice. I like my homemade flocking. It's very fine, coarse flocking, and of course it was free, so I like that. Just kind of daub it into place, kind of give it some coverage. There's a section over here in the front too that I had with some tile work, but here on the top, I'm actually going to make grass look like it's growing from the brickwork too. So I'm going to put a little bit of that flocking there up top. Now, spinning it around, you see there's certain other areas like that tile work down there I told you about. I want to make sure that the grass looks like it's actually growing over the tile, to kind of make it look like it's part of the landscape and buried under decades and decades of misuse, and kind of give it that weathered, aged look there. And that looks pretty good. I think there's a couple more pieces here I want to put in there. Again, you don't want to have it completely covered with flocking. You want some of that rock, that aggregate, that absorbent to show through, but and different little pieces here and there to kind of flesh that out. Don't worry about getting a little messy too, because as I mentioned, nature's kind of chaotic. It's not necessarily orderly. You want to have some fun with it and let it just find its own place. All right. So now I've got the the regular flocking here. I'm going to grab my reindeer moss and my Spanish moss. I'm going to go just with the reindeer moss this time. If you're doing like an indoor run, you might want to use Spanish moss to show that it hasn't been around sunlight. It's growing, but it's dying out, decaying. But this reindeer moss works out really well. I'm going to take my hot glue gun and just get a little clump of the reindeer moss because I'm going to just tiny little bits here and there. I don't want huge bushes all over the piece, but just little spot sections. I can just put each one of these little reindeer moss pieces on to kind of show that there's some underbrush that's growing up around these ruins and it's kind of succumbing to nature there. Now, something I've noticed that a lot of people will end up doing is they'll put this stuff off and they'll end up burning their fingers. So what I do, and I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know, but what I like to do is I'll take the hot glue and I'll put it on a piece like so, and I'll just put the dab of the reindeer moss there and just let it sit there, and I'll take a screw or a nail and just push that into position, make sure it gets coverage and it adheres well without actually touching it so that I can't get burned, and then just pick away those threads if there are any threads of hot glue, or if you have a blow dryer, you can use that to melt away those glue threads. I'm going to just add a couple pieces here. Not every piece of clump should be on the ground level. Sometimes you want to have them look like they're sticking out of the brickwork and add it there. So now we've got a pretty good piece here. I'm kind of impressed with it myself. I'm going to just go ahead and scroll some lines here on that sun-drenched stone there in the front, kind of give it some ancient glyphs or path markers or whatever the case may be. You might want to be a little bit more creative, put directions, grave markers, warnings, scrolled writings, even banners or flags if you want to. But yeah, so give you a little close up here. So you got a little swirl pattern there. I really like that. And I'm just gonna kind of go here on the bottom. I'm gonna make little waves like a river glyph of some sort. And there we go. A great use about Sharpie is it works really well on going over acrylics. So you get some of those fine details without having to pick up a tiny little brush and make it work. And there we have it. Kind of give it a spin around. I'm also going to post a couple pictures here for you to take a look at and tell me what you think. Yeah, looking really good. Looking really good. I want to thank you for helping me do this treasure transmutation for Crafter Hacks. If you like what you see, please subscribe, hit the like button, thumbs up. Also, I'm going to put in a link if you want to help donate to my cause. PayPal, I accept everything from 10 cents to $10, and you'd be helping me more than you know. Other than that, this is John Timmons with Crafter Hacks. Hope to see you crafting on the table and post some pictures of what you've done with what I've shown you here. Other than that, you have a great day. Take care.